So, so I want to do this real quickly. We're going to try to do this in one take, right? I'm gonna deal with somebody who has reasonably has come up to my, not unreasonably, right? There are times where I would say certain things on a channel would require a little more fact checking than usual. Now I'm holding my phone here and I'm in the same exact part today, different filter because I wanted this to be easier on your eyes. I'm not currently in the best shape, but it is 7 in the morning and I had to wake up as early as possible to make this video because this person clearly, that the one I'm talking about, clearly has a fan base larger than mine. But that couldn't have put me away farther from the result of my solution today. Then I found out that he has done lots of really despicable things since then. And there'd be things that we disagree on, and there'd be things that he'd say that are quite nuts and insane, but that's just a form of way of how he does entertainment, right? There are ways I do things that could be shocking to some people that might be a form of shock to people that are a lot more less understanding of what is going on. Now, currently, I want to get this out of the way. So, he did something extremely despicable, and I will basically introduce myself. You are new to the channel, and you probably don't know who the hell I am. So, my name is Viz/Maggie, Vizmaggy. Those are my nicknames. My real name is Vizuet Perez Nicholas. To disclose that to you, I'm a real person, I'm a legitimate professional in many areas. I'm sort of somebody who's like a smartass. So this is going to be a lot more different experience to the people that you've seen that were just a bunch of transgender people who didn't know how to speak at all and didn't know how to properly roast somebody like Asmongold. So we're going to do this one by one. Remember, I'm with all of the things that he is against in some points of time, where he sometimes usually switches around with his opinion, just like RFK Jr. with his opinions on vaccines, constantly switching back and forth. So some of you are really stupid, but this guy is more stupid, right? But it's even worse is his fan base are also enabled idiots, which he thrives on. Again, a famous quote from me is that you thrive on idiots, you need idiots. So he needs idiots to be able to thrive. So no matter how much I would say, sometimes the thing I might say today in this video recording might not just be enough to get through his head. But if he is certainly watching this video, before you come at me and start mocking, my face or whatever I do or the thumbnails of my videos, I have 7 years of history on this channel, so you quite have a lot to judge. You have a lot to judge, to work on, right? I don't need too much of your information 7 years ago to know what is going on, to understand the specific situation I'm talking about, right? I've been around the AI thing for like years, before 2020, right? Quite a long time ago, I've been knowing of AI for a while, right? I've known about it for a while. He does not. He does not, right? Asmongold has barely any knowledge about how it properly works. Even though I'm an artist myself, yes, I know, shocking, an artist who knows how to use AI. Because you would think I would be against AI. I'm not against all forms of AI. That is stupid. Where I'm against the negative use of AI, the unethical use of AI, right? The very inhuman use of AI that just basically puts away the value of life, right? Aside. And he's somebody who affords quite a lot, and he can afford a lot. He has a huge fan base and people would consistently give him attention. He gets paid his bills from simply making controversies happen. I can't do that, but I don't need any of that to happen for me to be able to make this point. Recently, he's came up to me on my algorithm doing something really stupid, and I'm going to finally get to what that is, because I needed to first explain to you who I am and why I need to do this, right? So this is out for the better of human, right? The human good. He did something sacrilegious, an act of violence on a piece of artwork from an innocent artist chemist, who, by the way, is a chemist artist. Insane. And yes, I use commas for that, so you can see that I'm still able to be legible from even this video, so that the captions generate properly, but I don't think it will do that. Now, before anyone says, oh, you're Indian, I'm not Indian. His fans love to be racist, and are incredibly racist, and really discriminatory, but something that even would get past me, my anger against racism is a lot less compared to when someone does a sacrilegious act to an art by fixing it with AI. Artificial intelligence could be used for really great reasons and a lot of good things. Not the use that he did it for. For mockery and humiliation is not the exact way to go with it. Now, I do remember the amount of money he tried to offer to the artist, like $1,000, so he can get a redemption. you're basically humiliating this guy even further. And you're basically saying that you can control the artist in any way you want and pay them off for entertainment. So you're past immoral from that standpoint. I want to help you open your eyes, Asmongold, but doing something like that is straight up coercion, right? You're manipulating this artist. You're basically defaming the artist without even trying. You have a fan base to keep up with in billions, right? Billions of people around you, but you control millions. And not everybody can control an audience of over 17 million, 20 million people. You pull in millions of people. The artist does not. The artist isn't as successful as you are. This artist is a lot more in a more worse situation than you're at right now. They are in a worse spot economically because most artists are suffering out there and they are currently being stepped on by the economy. That is not because the artists are not able to do whatever. I'm an artist myself and I've been one for the longest. You see, the thing is about art is that there's usually a low entry barrier for art. But whenever you are trying to make profits of art, there's a higher entry barrier to make profits off of your own art. Besides posting it on social media, this is the only, real first barrier. Making profits off of art directly is a lot more harder. With the economy and how it is and how, garbage it is, and how I told you about how racist his fan base is, the very man himself can't clean his own room. Right? We need to first get that out of the way. He cannot clean for himself. He cannot make a proper sentence. And he cannot speak English, though he's an Englishman himself. Or in a way, uniquely, at least speaks English. And it's something that he speaks majorly besides any other language, because he technically speaks a lot of English besides the other language he uses, because he streams quite a lot and has currently lots of editors at bay to his disposal. So, I want you to get a little scale of what is going on. So, what you've done was fix somebody's art with AI. Even worse, you're somebody who's known to be an extremist, and you're somebody who's known to be called Nazis. Are you really Nazis? Is Asmongold really Nazis? No, he is not Nazis. I have enough brain to know that he's not Nazis. He is just a rhetoric definition of Nazis. He's not actual Nazis. So before anybody thinks I'm somebody that call anybody Nazis, no, I know what a Nazi is. I know my history. You're talking to a smartass right now. This is not a random person who's like crazy on the internet who's criticizing Asmongold for like the 500th time. I've only criticized this man very smallly in this channel, but not until he finally did something where I'm like, okay, now I might have to make a response off of that, because he really did something despicable and really stupid. Now, this isn't the first time he's done it, and his very action led to people harassing this artist for months and months and months and months on end. So, before you say because he's crying and I'm defending an artist because it's just an artist, artist literally is a skill term. It is not a ethnicity of people. Artist is not an ethnicity. It's straight up a part of a people, a large sum of people in the world who know how to do art. So before anybody comes and says something about, oh, artists, shut the fuck up. Do your research and stop confusing artist with racist. Artist, racist, not the same thing. One is way different in terms of evaluation, and one is different in types of sociology that you can go into. The sociology is quite different, and an artist can literally be racist and not racist. So, before anyone says that, stop. Slow down. Use your thinking brain. You're slow. You're gullible. So, I want to also say this to what you've done to this artist. I was watching this video that it was posted by this guy who showed me further, clips of how this all went down, and it was quite fascinating to see all of the horrid shit that Asmongold was doing. I've been drawing arts myself, but never could this man have just asked the artist in the first place, hey, can you make the sword a little bigger? Besides mocking him, you still couldn't tell this guy for around at least over a year or months on end to, hey, can you make the sword bigger? But you took it into your own matter and posted it on your own account. So you can have your entire fan base to just harass this guy all at once. And you knew that this would rage bait people. But you couldn't use your brain to at least just ask him, hey, can you make the sword a little bigger? But you did it for entertainment. Entertainment is for you. You're looking into this in the matter of profit, shame, and you have no dignity in this whatsoever. You've done this multiple times too, which is not my... I wanted to make sure that he was solid on what he was doing, right? I want to make sure it's not just one thing he did. It's something he'll keep doing and has done before. So there's quite a difference here. So I just want to say this, that for the artist who was, treated this way, because I looked into your art and you have some really beautiful art, right? It's art and it has so many elements, so many focuses, and so many colors. And you've definitely grown since then, and I've looked at your growth, which was quite fascinating because I actually did my research, which most of Asmongold fans cannot do. They can't even use their brain or do research. They'll just look at what he says and then believe it, which is what you're responsible for, Asmongold. You have no responsibility and no doubt. You also can't be stood to yourself, somebody talking in your face, telling you you're wrong. So you can't even take criticism. So before anybody comes at that, I actually am a person who would take criticism. Unlike him. Now, somebody like him would be thinking, oh, taking criticism is kind of weak. Yeah. So let me get into the mindset of somebody who thinks that taking criticism is weak, because that makes you soft. So I'm not somebody who's exactly soft. You'll notice that I could repeatedly attach on somebody and confront them until they break. So you will know that I mean this for lots of different reasons, but right now exactly what I did is quite despicable and is quite stupid. So I want to tell you what I truly feel about this entire situation. I want to tell you how I feel. I want to tell you what I really genuinely feel about the situation, because after I pieced it down, after how many times he's disappointed me, how many times he said something really racist and discriminatory in the video, how many times he assumed things about the video, how many times he thought he could understand people because he happens to jump on the trends about controversies. He does that for content, he does that for money, and does that for attention. He knows how to rage bait because he exactly became the very thing Twitter used to be. He became the very thing Twitter used to be. I don't even use X. And I don't even use X. I use Twitter. I use that terminology. And I don't even use it. I used to use it to post my artworks. And I use it sometimes to reply to people that are on that page that don't have any other pages on any other platform. This very man is a grown man and is around 3 to 2 times older than I am. And he cannot think for himself. He has yes people around him. He can't seem to be responsible for criticism. He can't seem to be responsible for the amount of harassment some people get whenever he goes over there and just says with his face every time. You know how much that actually gets me angry? You're responsible for so much, Asmongold. I feel like a lash out right now because of the horrid things that you've done as a person and as a content creator as a whole. What you're doing is not content creation anymore. You are fame mongering. You're making slitcher content. You're being an asshole. And you're not being responsive. There are many times where you've committed so many offenses that it's really numerous in count that I can't even just recite within this one video, because it takes me forever to explain to you why I am annoyed by that, and then explain to you what some people might think that I might be annoyed by that. So I have to explain 3 different angles so you at least know that I have some mature head left in my body today. But right now, I got nothing left mature in my body to stand for how this man has been doing things and allowing his friends and literally enabling all sorts of other negative people to join in on his crew. He has a fan base that straight up allows people who are just awful and disgusting to come in and harbor a fan base and then just make money off of it. I dethrone you from the very title of creator. You are not a creator anymore, Asmongold. And I know that I can say your legal name repeatedly in here to make it sound more serious, but I could not care about that right now. You're liable for everything you posted. And there's nobody big enough to handle this entire thing. There's not enough big enough creators who right now who are able to use their brain and say something about it, because they're just too friendly and scared to even put their opinion together. They can't even say proper strat. They can't even say something about the entire situation. They won't step out of the way to criticize your ass for doing something as stupid as that. This is something that's aged so well that has come with creators over time. They are still people, and they do lots of foolish things. Your favorite content creators are not Einsteins. This is something larger than just Asmongold, right? I'm actually sick and tired of the amount of negligence and ignorance and the amount of denial coming from some of these creators. Asmongold, Decoy Voice, Rev Says Desu, Kirsch, VTuber. Right? I know. Leafy VTuber. All sorts of VTubers that I've seen pass by, like Smugalana and Fillion. All sorts of people just like you. And I know those are just big names. I didn't forget about YouTuber reviews. You're all some of the most racist people I've seen. You are some of the most awful people I've seen who have not just went past by immoral. You've went to straight up racism, discrimination, and invalidation of people's values in life, in concept and property of rights. You are the very thing against life itself. When you start to sabotage and abandon people and drop them out of certain demographics and games and situations because of the way you think they look and the way that they are colored, the way that they sound, and the place that they come from, when we're all still on the same exact planet. Sabotaging this art thing was not the only thing that I got mad about, because he would continue to do this. His head is rewired into this specific state. The specific state he's in is wired just like that. He's not gonna listen to somebody like me. No. I don't have 1 million subscribers, or 1 million or 5 million. I don't have a bunch of millions of followers around me who are giving me money, who are funding my asshole activity on the internet. So I'm gonna make this a warning for Asmongold. I want you to be responsible for everything that you've just done. And you can. You have all the money in the world to do this. You have all of the editors in the world that you think are fit to edit for you in the world to do this. You're not going to take up responsibility, even after I said that, even though it's easy for me. I've taken responsibility for something before. I remember calling about the dark wave bans. Right? The dark wave bans on Roblox. And I made a mistake by accidentally assuming what people were banned for. And I said, I did something wrong. I'm wrong. But you can't do that. You can't be responsible for something. You have vandalized art. You've harbored a really awful community. You generalize all sorts of people that are innocent. My hair's not in the best condition. You had people bully them and start entire servers with hate campaigns all over them. I just want to do this right now because I hit my last nerve, because the thing he just did in the video was so awful and disgusting. I just want to get this out of my head. Creators like those, just like Asmongold, are some of the most awful, disgusting, and fucked up people who I've ever seen, who have completely no morals left and no dignity. I want you to use your mind for a second, Asmongold. I want you to use your brain. Be a smart person. You're not even smart, but I want you to try to be smart, to act like you're smart for a second. Not just harboring clicks and agreeing with certain audiences that you've never seen before, that you can't still remember, just like the artwork that you forgot about! That you forgot about! You can't remember a stupid artwork, so how would you know the people that are in the trend? Do I mince my words enough? Do I mince my words enough to tell you how many mistakes and how many errors that nobody's pointing out to you in the creator field? Am I wrong? Is this my opinion? No. Holy friendly shit! Stop jumping on the trains and making yourself look smart for once. Admit that you're fucking stupid. Someone like you is being told that you're a generational creator, that you're a genius. You used to be much greater back in the fucking day, that you can't do something simple like use your brain and fact check anything that you do. You slap up your fucking room and you say some racist shit to over to some innocent people and harass them and bully them and send some of the most hatred and most hatred-filled people that I've seen. Well, you just embrace AI. Oh, you supported Donald Trump. He's a fucking pedophile. JD Vance can't even do something right. He had to can't even manage the military right without getting people fucking killed. And you supported Elon Musk a long time ago. Where is he? Where is he? Where are the fans who are constantly, literally defending you and trying to think for you online, who will just harbor hatred and make up all sorts of messed up situations with people for internet clicks? All the people that you harbor are awful. My community is filled with some of the better people. I don't have a large fan base that I can sure educate minds to do better than the one that you have. But you can't even do that! You can't educate your fan base! For somebody who has a lack of integrity, just like Asmongold, it gets on my nerves more that there are not enough people criticizing you in like positions of power who have such a voice right now. There's not enough people taking on them. When there's some, they would immediately get shut down by a bunch of people who are just racists, who make a bunch of really awful statements online. And they will gather much more attention because sensationalist content has been on the full rise recently. Sensationalist content just like yours, sloth content, it generally is. I'm going to find out because I've looked into years of your videos. You're a more manageable man, more manageable. Somebody who I thought maybe could be an example. This is not coming from somebody who just looked at this video and said, wow, what an awful human being. I know the very human being who literally did all sorts of events back in the day. I saw the very man who was in COVID. I saw the man who was before COVID. That was you, Asmongold. You were somebody more sensible and more bearable. But you've become much more open about it, just like Chibi Reviews and Riff Says Desu about the racism. Here, hey, also being racist themselves. They can't even use their brains and have become the very thing that they hate. They had much more of a brain back in the day because there was nothing stopping them and there were enough people to judge them. Enough people to judge them to tell them, hey, you're being a little edgy right now. You're being a little offensive. You're doing something that can hurt a lot of people. That's something you're doing, is you're hurting a lot of people without you knowing because you refuse to look in the eyes of people who are struggling and who are literally mentally challenged by all of the hatred that is going on, is passing around. I want some people to be in this equation and do something about it. Not just me. I can't just go in front of Asmongold and just tell him why he's wrong. Why would he? He wouldn't want to look dumb. He wouldn't argue or debate somebody who has a more straighter head than he has. He wouldn't debate somebody young who knows how to talk and use vocabulary. I enunciate this a lot. He does not want to debate somebody younger who has much more of a straighter brain than he has. Now I'm going to paraphrase that. You thrive on idiots. You need idiots. You need them. That's what you are doing. You become the very product of human hatred. You are the very example of oligarchic deniability. You become the very example of something anti-democracy. Only if it was you would you listen. You will only listen to yourself. You will not listen to any other people's opinions. And you will act as if you will listen to other people's opinions, because I know you're the very type of person who will try to rebound this in a singular video clip, so I know how your videos work. You will always try to rebound and say, no, I actually do listen to people's opinions, here's why. And you're going to bring up some made up example of how you listen to people's opinions. But when it's something more constructive and a lot more striking, and a lot more searing like mine, an opinion of mine, I know you're the type to pause the video and try to correct me between sentences, because I know how you watch videos. I'm not fucking stupid. You're the retarded one here, and retarded people don't know they are retarded. So I want you to make sure that you learn this very well, old man, who cannot clean for himself, who cannot make a proper sentence, he can't make proper statements, cannot make proper announcements, and cannot properly manage his channel by himself, who cannot do everything alone, who cannot animate, cannot draw, and cannot automate. So remember, he's not an artist. You are not somebody fit the content creator title.
you're making lots of niche rebounds with your statements, and you always do that in order to gather sympathy, not empathy, sympathy. And you do this from your fan base, who are all sorts of yes people who will never say no. And when they say no, you only look for the weakest person who says no, who cannot defend themselves. And that's what you do. You pick on the weak, and you pick on the ones who have less of a voice. I am incredibly am solid on the statement that I just made here. So if anybody wants to challenge me on that, please challenge me on that. Stay safe out there. We need foreign leaders out there. My name is Maggie. I'm an artist, musician, producer, mixing and mastering engineer. I'm also a writer, an editorial writer, content creator, YouTuber, gamer, and game maker for Roblox. And I also do lots of story writing on my own that requires me to make lots of world building. So I'm also a transmedia world builder. Transmedia world builder is somebody who makes different medias across different websites to make their world building happen. That's what transmedia world building is, not transgender. Use your brain. So pay attention. You're supposed to. I know you pause the videos. I know you will pause my video. If this video was ever seen in the future, or in case if it does, you always pause videos. So I know how you work. So every statement that I said is purposely in a way where even if you chop it up, I will still sound reasonable. So you probably are going to try to cut out any of the parts where I sound intellectual, and you're just going to leave in the parts that make me sound look more like I'm rash. Because you're going to put a thumbnail where I'm like that, right? You want to see that. You get that for clicks. So I know how you work. I've been making content for quite a long time. I've been around since 2014. You've been around since the 2000s though. So I know how this works, but I'm somebody who also has studied the 2000s internet and the 90s internet. I'm a net historian as well. So besides all those other titles, you're talking to a smartass here. So you're not talking to somebody exactly normal. My mind has been built out of cruelty, and I know cruelty well. You don't. You're the very one who now ensues cruelty and enables cruelty. Stay safe, get into your state, get into your spot, and I want you to do something about it. I must re-emphasize, and I must make sure that this point comes across to you. Anyways, I want to make this one last warning to Asmongold right now. You are not a creator. You are a generalist. A generalist is somebody who promotes and makes multi-variation content with AI generated content, a generated machine to make content and make distribution off of it. A generalist is somebody who uses AI tools just like the ones that you'll see used, because AI comes in different forms. And again, I'm not fully against AI. I'm against the unethical, inhuman, right, uses of AI, the evil uses of AI. Anyways, be wary of what you do online. Be careful of what you wish for. Whatever you say about me is what you say about society. And as always, my name is Fish/9. I've been for 7 years. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I am out of here. I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this man. If he ever does something despicable again, please get it up into my face. Please send me a video, and I will further break down this guy if you need more statements from me, because this is a lot more nuanced. And I know he's gonna skip this part because he heard the outro, because he's somebody with a short attention span himself, even though he doesn't admit it. He admits to all sorts of slop and makes all sorts of excuses. So I know your attention span is small. So after hearing my outro, you would think that the video is ended. So I want someone to please send spies over there to his channel, send spies to his Discord server, and I want somebody to take images of what they would do, so you can get an example for how his audience is like. Anyways, that's all I have to say.